Hello, everyone, and welcome to another video session with myself and Penny Hayward. My name is Joe Rowley Flynn. I'm a spiritualist trance medium and tutor, and I'm here with Penny. Would you like to introduce yourself, Penny?
Sure. So, yes, my name is Penny Hayward. I'm a medium. I'm a tutor at the Arthur Finlay College and lots of other things, delving into researching psi phenomena and whatever else excites my soul.
Wonderful, wonderful, excellent. So today's topic, we're going to be exploring, is it me or is it spirit? And so for a lot of mediums, that's something that to start with we can really struggle with, understanding, what's your mind and what's spirit really. What's your
Mm.
what's your thoughts on that, Penny? What's
Yeah, so I think that happens with evidential mediumship as much as it does trance mediumship, but we're looking mostly at the trance mediumship state. And I think that's a real doozy along our journey. I know for myself in those earlier development phases, I battled like, is it me? Is it the spirit world? Where's that thought? Where's that impression coming from? And I would say that of course, in our earlier developmental phases, there is a blending of us and the spirit world, so that makes it more confusing.
yeah,
And so we've got to learn to get to know the guides. We've got to learn to get ourselves out of the way. And I think what happens is the spirit world gives us an inspiration or an impression, and then we come in on the back of that.
yeah, yeah.
And then the spirit world gives us another thought or impression, and we come in on the back of it. So this is where I think the tug of war sort of feeling happens. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we can go into that tug of war, like you said. I think it's recognizing really when there is a thought that comes from spirit. For me, it comes in very quick and fast, and it's something
Mm,
that almost surprises you. You're not thinking about that. Whereas,
mm,
I often say to people when they're developing with their trance mediumship, do you already know that information? You see, do
mm.
you feel you already have that information there, or is there something new that's coming in? And I say, whenever there's something new that inspires us, then that's how we can start to slowly recognize when the spirit world is blending more with our consciousness and having more of that hold. But as you say, to start with, it can be a lot of us and a little bit of spirit, and then it can start to change. But I think there's many elements that come into that, with
Yeah.
understanding your attunement process, how you can move out of the way. And so I feel it's more about how much do you know how to move yourself out of the way. So
Mm.
start to recognize those differences, is what I would say.
Yeah, and I think as well we've got to recognize that while there are certain processes and techniques that we can learn from teachers and tutors such as us,
Yes.
and others out there, there isn't a one size fits all process. So we have to have that individual internal journey.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I do think that certainly a lot of people are frustrated and impatient.
Mm.
So the impatience brings frustration, frustration brings impatience, and then added into that, you can have that
Yeah.
feeling of, is it me or is it the spirit world? Oh,
Yeah.
um, so and then we get stuck in a loop. And I really truly believe that we have to, or we should, nobody has to do anything, but something that helped me was to sit and contemplate the experience afterwards
Yeah.
and to recognize where was the tipping point, where do I feel I was interfering?
Yeah.
So in my earlier development, I would get something drop into my mind. So it was interesting you mentioned it comes to you quick and fast.
Mm.
For me, I would describe it as there would be a word or a theme that drops into my mind. And in the earlier developmental phases, it would go round and round my head all day long, just that word or just that theme.
Yeah.
So it was just, it, and it was almost annoying, you
Mm.
know, and I'd be thinking, all right, well, I know I've got trance development tonight, so I'll try to let go and see what happens. I'll say that word, or I'll give way to this theme that's bugging me, sort of thing. So it's almost like the spirit world is preparing you long before you start to try to say, "Hey, heads up, Penny, this is what's going to happen tonight," type of thing. So then it's almost becomes reassuring,
Yeah.
or it becomes like a comfort somehow, because our logical mind, especially if you're like me, and that logical mind wants to be nosy and wants to be involved in what's happening, then um it gives you permission to let go a little bit more and go and see, let go and see what comes out. And
Yeah.
I always ask myself afterwards, what in that surprised me? Because that's when I know it's not me interfering.
Absolutely. And I think it's learning to not control the outcome of the experience. A lot
Mm.
of people, it's like they you say about an exercise that you're going to do, and then it's, well, how do I do this, and how does that happen, and how does that happen? And you go, but you're not doing it. It's allowing the spirit world to come in and take over with that process. And so I think in our lives, we are used to being in control, aren't we? And I think control's
Mm.
a big thing for a lot of people. Sometimes there's a bit of fear
Mm.
around it. And I think the more we can look at those aspects of what's stopping us from moving into that flow, then we can start to explore that. So, you know,
Yeah.
I think even deepening that blending, it really is about what is it personally that we need to let go of to almost create more space. So I think there's more um that can be unfolded within that aspect so that we can move into that flow. But like you said, receiving that word, receiving that impression, but I find a lot of people don't want to speak. They'll have the word,
That's
but they're
right.
just, no, not going to say that. I'm just going to sit here and be still
Yeah.
and not do
And
anything.
then exactly, and then that shows that you are too involved in the process, because you're not allowing, you're like, well, no, the logical mind is saying, no, that's ridiculous. So I'm just going to sit here. uh, but I think too, um, this word control is a bit of an issue.
Yeah.
And because it's the logical mind that likes to be in charge. The
Mm.
logical mind is, well, what I see, what I feel, what I touch through the human experience, that's reality.
Yeah.
And therefore, when the spirit world is blending, which is all the opposite things of the logical mind accepts, then that's where that battle is. And I think it's important that we let our self, whether it be our subconscious, whether it be our higher self, whether it be our logical mind, or a combination of those things, we inform ourself that we are never out of control, that we always have an element of control. So therefore, nothing nothing bad is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen that isn't for a greater good, and therefore I can step back and relax and allow this beautiful blending to happen and trust.
Yeah.
So,
I was about to
little
say,
big word, trust
yes.
that the spirit world know what they're doing, and they're not going to put us in a position that would embarrass us, because maybe it's embarrassment we're worried about, or the logical mind is worried about, or maybe it's a feeling of not knowing. A lot of people aren't comfortable not knowing what's going to happen. So if we can embrace the unknown in our daily life, because we don't know what's going to happen from moment to moment, and bring that into our trance development, then it creates that space you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's bringing certain aspects of awareness into it, isn't it? Of bringing those thoughts into alignment with what we are wanting to achieve with the spirit world. Um, I think you mentioned a big word there, trust. And
Hmm.
trust, once you start to learn to trust in those that are there and that are wanting to influence these words and move it forward, then you can start to relax. And I feel that blending can start to become more settled. You become more settled within it, and
Mm.
I just feel that the power of positivity is important as well, because so often people just spiral down into that negativity, can't do it, or, I can't do this, can't do that. And the logical mind takes over. So I suppose, what advice could we give to people about really when they are stuck in that logical aspect? And because the most thing that I find a lot of people want to understand is how to go deeper, or how to really move out of the way. And I feel that journey is so personal, because everybody's different. Everybody's going to have different ways of being able to move out of the way and embrace that connection. So, what do you feel? Any thoughts or ideas on that, or inspiration, Penny?
We always work with inspiration. uh, Look, I think that something you said there is a part of it. People spiral down into that frustration of, oh, well, I can't do this, and or it's not happening the way they want it to happen.
Yeah,
And that is the key. And it is them getting themselves out of the way, because the thing is, we have these abilities. We have this ability within us to be able to connect with a consciousness that is outside of our own individual conscious awareness.
yeah,
And therefore, we're on a journey of exploration. It's an adventure. It's an adventure that we want to discover what's next, what works best, what is right for you and your spirit team. So rather than thinking of the experience as this is what I want,
mm,
it should be what is right for us as a team. So
yeah,
you and the spirit world.
mm,
And I think that sometimes, for example, I was adamant that my voice would not change,
mm,
because I'd witnessed trance of varying degrees, and I didn't like how some people's voices came across,
mm,
because it sounded, whether it was or not, it
yeah,
sounded put on. And I thought, I do not want to be one of those.
yeah,
um, and so I was in the way of letting the spirit world change my voice in any way, because I was just adamant it should be about the information. So I was controlling some of the process. But as the years went by, and I relaxed more with the spirit team, and just gave way. So my what would you call it, routine, my process before I begin trance is, okay, team, it's over to you. I'm going to do my best to get out of the way.
Yeah.
And once I kept it simple like that, and I trusted, like that was me putting my trust into the process, then the spirit world started to change my voice.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying it's perfect. I mean, I don't even, I hear it like I'm hearing a conversation in the next room.
Yeah.
So, so I'm not able to interfere. And I don't remember everything. But it's a bit like a dream. If
Mm.
somebody said, the guide said this, it would recall. But I in the next day or so wouldn't remember what was said.
Yes. Yeah.
So so I think really it is this finding a way inside yourself to move into that passive awareness. Let's put it that way. So, if we're talking about going from your earlier steps and into that, is it me, is it spirit world, and you're still finding your way, then trust the spirit world. They know what your abilities are, they know what their abilities are, and maybe it's not what you want as your, maybe you're meant to be working as a philosophical trance medium, not an evidential trance medium. So why are you putting pressure on you and the spirit world to do something that's outside of your natural ability?
Yeah.
So go with what comes naturally.
Absolutely.
Go and just trust that. And then once you get that depth happening, it may well evolve into evidential trance mediumship, which
Yeah.
can be a whole nother topic we can talk about.
Yeah, that seems to be a very popular aspect of trance mediumship. And everybody wants to, even before they've looked at the basics, they want to explore that straight away. So yeah, I think that would be a really good one to do because I feel a lot of people would be interested in that.
Mm,
You're totally right there. I feel that the more when mediumship happens with an individual and it's natural and it flows more, I often feel like that's a sign from the spirit world saying, this is what we want to do with you. This is what we can do with you. Whereas,
mm,
struggling and you're saying, this is what I want to do. It's almost like the desired mind that, oh, I find
mm.
that interesting. I'm going to do this. And the spirit world's over there going, we want to do something different, but off you go.
Yeah, you're not
Yeah,
ready.
off you go, but we'll be
Oh,
here when you're ready. But that I feel
yeah,
that it's important to come back to your team.
yeah.
I would say if there's any advice with learning to move out of the way, is really just for me, it's about getting to know who works with you and recognizing how you can learn the art of listening, inner listening
Mm,
to your soul, because I think the more we can listen to the soul, the better, but also your team. And I feel that
mm.
more that they can start to impress themselves and give advice, then for me, I feel we need to just turn the attention more to the spirit world. It's like we forget
Yeah,
that they're there and we go and do our own thing, but actually
yeah.
there's a team that are willing to support you and know what's right for us. So I think
Mm.
a big part of the unfoldment is sitting and getting to know those that work with you and listening to what they want to give to help with that.
Yeah, I just had a little inspiration while you were talking there, so sorry to cut in, but I
No.
think I think what the spirit world want us to do is receive and
Yeah,
not demand.
exactly.
And something that one of the many tutors I had over the years said was, why don't you move into the stillness and the power of your own soul, and that blending with your spirit team, and set the question first, what can I do for you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because we are so busy in our daily lives going, I want this, I want that. Spirit world, help me with this, help me with that. I want, give me, give me. And whether it's those words or other words, we're always asking to have, when perhaps we should be just being in the blending and wait and receive, because they know what we are asking, they know what we want help with, but they also need that space to be able to tell us what they need from us to get us to where we all need to be as a team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's essential. That's lovely. I feel that it's important to just create that link with them and
Mm,
trust in what they're giving. But I think sometimes I find the things that we are reluctant to explore sometimes ends up being the path of where they want it to go, which is
yeah,
interesting, isn't it? Because it's like, no, I don't want to develop that. No, I feel uncomfortable with that. But it's interesting because I feel that that's almost where it is. And yeah,
yeah.
I
I
feel, yeah,
think you're right there. It's it makes me laugh because there's been a number of things on my um journey, and of course the journey continues, it doesn't end, but there's been so many times I'm like, I am not going to do that. And I even would say to the spirit world, I am not going to do that. And if you think I am, you've got another thing coming, and you'll have to find a way around me because I'm not doing it.
yeah,
And there's been several big things in my life on this path that they found a way around me, and I then had to listen because they really did find a way around me.
yeah,
And um and so I was like, okay, I know that's not come from me. I know that is not what's in my
mm,
heart's desire. That's not what I'm asking from an ego point of view. That's the spirit world getting around me and going, you are going in that direction, whether you like it or not, because that's where
yeah,
you need to be. So
yeah,
I think you're absolutely right there.
yeah, yeah. It's just something that I've noticed. I think it's really interesting. The things that we feel a bit uncomfortable, or no, I'm not doing that. It's
Mm,
almost like the spirit world is saying you are doing that, and we're going to push you in that
mhm.
direction. Um,
Yeah,
and I feel it's all this journey of learning to trust. It's to help
yeah,
us to trust, and because sometimes we can become a bit more comfortable, can't we, within our abilities and various things, and
yeah.
sometimes we just need that push. Um,
Yeah, get comfortable being uncomfortable.
yeah, absolutely. That's the same for the day, everybody. Wonderful. Well, that's been lovely. I hope that whoever listens to this really
Mm,
just receives some inspiration, because this is what these sessions are all about, is really for us to just have
mhm,
a general chat and for people to just take away what they can from it and learn and receive their own guidance. But if I would say anything, listen to the spirit world,
mm,
listen to what they want, like you said, want you to do, not
mm,
the way around. And I feel that way the control will perhaps start to change. You'll start to feel a bit
mm.
more comfortable. But anything else you want to add before we finish, Penny?
No, I think that was perfect. And it's always a delight to chat with you, and I always enjoy it. So I look forward to next time already.
Absolutely. Perhaps we'll look at evidential trance. That would be a good one to do. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Thank you very much. Until next time. Wonderful. Have a great day.